I think there's been a big release lately when it comes to VeChain, and it's not even about the price, by the way. It's actually in regard to something called Thor version 2.4.4. And apparently it's going to bring a significant protocol update with key fixes. Now, it just recently happened, so of course it did allegedly bring that, but this is the thing. This may not be cool, it may not be flashy as of right now, but these things that go on when it comes to VeChain do improve it. And I'll talk about why I think this could improve VeChain moving forward and what effect it actually caused towards VeChain in today's video. But I first want to clarify, nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. It's just my mindset and perspective. So if we take a look at it, again, the recent release of Thor version 2.4.4, which, yeah, I mean, as you can read it, right, it's literally like Thor from the Avengers movie, but it's of course not about that. But besides that, what this basically does is that Thor, again, that recent improvement, version 2.4.4, it improves how node operators run and monitor the VeChain network, which of course is crucial to actually running the VeChain Thor blockchain. And if we take a look at it as well, more control, clear monitoring, or more clear monitoring, I should say, and slightly easier day-to-day operations, this is going to greatly improve, again, the experience for these node operators when it comes to VeChain. So it's not a bad thing. This is not the coolest thing out there, I get it, because people oftentimes only want to take a look at the price. But at the same time, these are the things that could matter later on. It's like, for instance, I remember back then I would play, like Tech Deck. Does anyone remember that? Like, those miniature skateboards that you can play with your finger like that? I remember I used to play that, but imagine back then if everyone was playing Tech Deck, and then I suddenly came along and said, "Hey, ever heard about the S&P 500?" Everyone would be like, "What? What is that?" They'd be like, "How is that cool?" But again, if we fast forward to right now, though, all those Tech Decks I collected, so to speak, back then, I don't even know where they are anymore. I lost pretty much all of them when I moved homes. And then also on top of that, the value of them, I'm pretty sure is pretty much non-existent, I suppose, because I did lose them, but even if I did have them, it pretty much go down, right? But when it comes to the S&P 500, ever since back then, we all know what happened. It reached a new all-time high. The S&P 500 not that long ago. So here's the thing. Some things may not be cool at the time, but eventually they could matter later on. Case in point, if we take a look at this recent release of this update or whatever, when it comes to VeChain, it may not matter currently, but if it improves the node operator experience when it comes to VeChain, eventually that's going to help create a better, I guess, longevity when it comes to VeChain, especially in terms of its adoption. And also on top of that, if something were to run better, it could better receive institutional adoption later on if the market were to recover. This is why I don't think it's a bad thing. Again, this recent update may not matter too much and it may seem boring, but that's like me back then talking about the S&P 500 when everyone was playing tech decks. It wouldn't be cool, but we fast forward to right now, I don't know who's playing tech decks anymore that I know of at least, but a lot of my friends do care about the S&P 500, right? Currently. So if I take a look at, let's say in the case of, this example, it may not matter right now, but it could matter later on. That's the thing when it comes to this recent update. I'd also like to address something else though when it comes to VeChain, because people have been telling me that the reason why VeChain recently has been so focused on AI, take a look at the recent release of VWorld AI, and also on top of that, how that's powered by Agent Suite. When it comes to VeChain, people sometimes view VeChain being focused on AI as a kind of sign of defeat. But I don't think about it that way. The reason why is because why wouldn't they be focused on that as of right now? They clearly have the fundamentals through the VeChain Thor blockchain, which has apparently zero network outages ever since 2018, which showcases its long-standing kind of reliability in terms of having no network outages for quite a while, for over half a decade at this point. And then also on top of that, yeah, why wouldn't they want to be focused on AI if they have something like the VeChain Thor blockchain? I get it. VeChain, in terms of its bread and butter, like originally what I knew it as was this project that was very focused on supply chain management. But especially in 2026, making that very strong pivot, it seems like, to AI, I don't see why that's a bad thing. People sometimes view it as a sign of defeat, but need I remind people, VeChain is ranked 85th in the world as of right now. Or should I say VET, its primary native token, in terms of market cap within this space. 85th. it's top 100. You know, it's not like this suddenly became ranked 5,000th or whatever. Then if it's like that low and it's really focused on AI, then okay, I get why people may view it as a sign of defeat. But really, VeChain is still top 100 when it comes to this space. And it's focused on AI, and then people are like, oh, it's a sign of defeat. I disagree with that because it's still top 100. You know, had it dipped down like into the thousands or whatever in terms of the ranking, then okay, yeah, I could arguably say maybe it's a sign of defeat, and then maybe they want to try to pivot towards AI to kind of, I guess, revive the project, right? But this doesn't seem to be the case to me. It seems like a classic case of a project that has the fundamentals and is wanting to pivot and diversify. What's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with it. Now, people like to say, well, the price charts didn't move. Well, yeah, I mean, it's down like 2% basically in the past 24 hours. It's just stagnating, basically. I mean, if I take a look at it, VeChain a month ago, it was pretty much at the exact same point as right now. I mean, we're up around almost 3% in the past month, but it's really kind of nothing. Also, if we take a look at it in the past week, you know, the movement has been around almost 4% downwards. So again, for the past month, VeChain hasn't really done anything in terms of the price. So what can I really talk about there? Not much, actually. But on the flip side, I'm seeing updates when it comes to VeChain. I'm seeing innovations happen because, again, they recently launched VWorld AI. I even made a video about that. And then also on top of that, how that's powered by Agent Suite. I even made a video on that too, and all the components and stuff like that. And then furthermore, a recent like update, right, happened when it comes to VeChain in the case of Thor version 2.4.4. So is VeChain really cooked? Is it like being focused on AI to kind of, revive the project, right? No, I don't think so. I think if anything, it's just trying to diversify. And what's wrong with that, in my opinion? Again, like I mentioned before, right? Now, if I take a look at it, people like to tell me though, but VeChain, it's not really going to matter if the market were to recover. But here's the thing, VeChain's been through many market downturns before. This is not a project that just came along last year or the year before, and this is the first time ever it's experiencing a market downturn. No, just like I mentioned early on in this video, the VeChain Thor blockchain ever since 2018 has had allegedly zero network outages. So imagine all of the nonsense that happened ever since, back then up until right now. Almost a decade ago, right? This is doing nothing unusual. It's literally doing what pretty much the whole market within this space is doing. Even Bitcoin's down. This can't, outpace that randomly, especially at a time like right now. So when it comes to VeChain, I'd like to focus on the updates and the upgrades, right? Because I think this is the type of stuff that could matter later on anyways if the market were to recover. Now, I don't know when the market could recover because people like to ask me that question, but I just really have no idea because how am I going to be able to know the exact moment in time? There's just no way. Even if I pulled up a price chart, I drew a random triangle or whatever, do you think the market's suddenly going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to listen to Lee the Captain? It's like, no, they're not going to suddenly do that. Like the market's not going to care about what I have to draw on a price chart. So I could draw a falling wedge pattern or whatever on a price chart. It's not really going to matter. Instead, I'm just holding, I'm just waiting. But in the meantime, I want to see the projects that I'm holding actually have updates and upgrades and releases happen, right? And I'm seeing that when it comes to VeChain. So yeah, that's just kind of my mindset. But also, the market cap again around 400 million. It's still decently sized for this space, but if we take a look at it, it is quite down when it comes to where it once was. Let's say in December 2024, the market cap was around 13 times in terms of like, how would I rephrase this, right? What I mean by that is actually, if we were to go to December 2024, the journey is around 13 times. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Now, is that necessarily a bad thing though? Not necessarily, because I'm looking to dollar cost average. So if VeChain could go back there, the journey seems like pretty impressive. And even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, if we take a look at just the idea of around a 400 million market cap, like these are 2020 levels. I'm not joking. These are levels we saw back in, what was this? June of 2020? That's over 6 years ago at this point. And we're seeing that right now in 2026, which may seem kind of bad. I get it at first glance, but because I'm looking to dollar cost average, I don't mind. Because if things were to recover, then I'm going to Sizzler, the restaurant. I mean, we'll wait and see, but I'm still here waiting, I'm not telling anyone to do anything though. But again, I'll keep everyone updated and I guess posted as to what happens when it comes to VeChain. I'm still documenting my journey along the way, but I'm still holding and waiting. Really nothing else I can do beyond that. And, that's pretty much it. But again, seeing that recent update when it comes to VeChain, I thought it was pretty impressive. Again, Thor version 2.4.4. But if anything else happens, I'll make a video on VeChain as well. So hopefully I'll stay tuned for future upcoming videos. It's been a pretty quick update, but I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very wonderful, amazing, and fantastic day. It's been Lee the Captain, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.